And we're back. Hey, everybody, it's Darren Carter and one of my favorite people in the entire world, Matt Fulchiron, the Full Charge Power Hour.
How are you, Darren?
Good, man. I usually just call you Full Charge. I'm like, full charge, full charge.
That's what everybody does. And it's, it's a weird nickname because you get older. And as you know, you're the rooster, you're the party starter. It gets a little bit weirder as you get older. But at the same time, it's so much better than Matt or Darren, some regular name. And I often wonder, to me, I think it's obnoxious if my stage name was the Full Charge. I mean, I really think that would be a bad move. But I also, on the other hand, think it would probably make me more successful. But I just don't, because it's like, it stands out.
They'd be like, Full Charge is in town, and he charges,
But the nickname is really based on my last name. It's not really based on my personality. So it'd be a weird thing to call myself, Yeah,
it's funny that you say that because I'm Darren Carter, the party starter. And honestly, it's like starter, Carter, like it rhymes. It's kind of a, but I guess I am.
You live up to it.
Yeah.
You live up to it, but also you get to say the whole thing. You get to say Darren Carter, the party starter, and it makes sense. I get up there, Matt Fulchiron, the Full Charge. They're still not going to remember the Matt Fulchiron part. And it's not, and people are going to go, what? And then I'm just going to stand there and tell jokes half the time. Sometimes I get animated, but half the time I'm just standing there. That's not the Full Charge.
No, but you know what though, man? I remember when you first told me about your podcast, and when I first heard about it, it was at the bar in Burbank at the Comedy Club, and you were like, I think I said something like, "Hey, how's it going, man?" or "What have you been up to?" or something like that, and you were like, a lot of energy into the Full Charge Power Hour, and I mean, this is a while ago, but like you were very like into it, man. And I was like, wow, I got to check that out. Like what is this Full Charge Power Hour?
7 years later.
It sold me, man. I was sold,
We just taped 411, episode 411.
Dude, 411. That's not, by the way, guys, people who are listening to this, just imagine like your favorite band, like they have getting together, and that's what it's like with the podcast. Like, I do mine solo, but I have guests on, but you do yours with a couple of your buddies, and
I do it with a couple of my buddies, and it's almost like getting in on a comedian's writing session in a way. That's the way I do it. I think it'd be much more successful to concentrate on one thing. That's what I'm trying to do with my other podcast, Roadheads. But somehow the Full Charge Power Hour does have the flavor that people are still at the Full Charge Power Hour. Roadheads, I'm still trying to get off the ground.
It's funny because I listened to about, I don't know, I probably have like, I don't know, man, just off the top of my head, maybe like 10 podcasts maybe that I kind of keep in rotation. I don't listen. Sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't listen. Sometimes a couple months later, I'll bring them in. And yours has always been in my rotation because just the wild stories that you guys tell and just your attitude, it's laid back. And
yeah, my podcast is in second gear, dude. Like it just, sometimes it ramps up to third, but it's pretty mellow listen. It's like easy listening, right? Yeah. But every once in a while, there's a firecracker going off.
Dude,
there's an atomic bomb going off every like 30 seconds. There's a good joke, I would say. I'm not lying.
It's funny because there's been moments where I remember I was in Vegas and I was kind of like lonely or whatever, not lonely, but like just alone by yourself. And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't have to be the family man. I don't have to be looking, being the comic all I got to do is listen to podcasts and exercise during the day and wait for those shows at night.
Yeah.
And I'd go to those back ballrooms where there's nobody, because I don't want to go. I tried going on the Vegas Strip and you're just constantly running into people and character. It's just, you don't want to do that. So I'd always go to some crazy, like, way in the back of the hotel, like the ballrooms. And I remember like just laughing my butt off, man. And you guys were, one of those episodes, I think you guys are doing that thing called Top of the Cake. Which is, if you don't tell people what Top of the Cake is.
So it's really essentially just reading people's Facebook posts that are just, when someone goes off the rails and instead of talking to a friend or a therapist, they go straight to Facebook and just type out all their anger, and then all their friends and family come and tag it or comment on it, and then they all fight, And then next thing you know, it's like 10 people fighting over this one person's manic episode. And we call that top of the cake because the first one we had, this guy was whining, talking about his mom, talking about his sister, he was mainly talking about his wife and how she was cheating on him. And he goes, and the top of the cake is it's with my brother or something like that. Like he doesn't, so that's part of the top of the cake is people don't understand how to spell and they don't know the expressions they're using. It's supposed to be icing on the cake. And so top of the cake, we got a real laugh out of that and it's stuck. And that's what we do. And sometimes we do a top of the cake and it just gets confusing. Like there's so many people jumping into comment that I have to be like, Craig, what is going on here? I have no idea what's going on. And Craig finally did a top of the cake last week. It just came out this week where he starts reading one of Wendell's, my other co-hosts, Facebook posts as top of the cake. Because Wendell gets kicked off Facebook every 30 days. Wow. Not every 30 days, for 30 days. And then the next day when they let him back on, he gets kicked off for another 30 days. He's like Bender in The Breakfast Club. You know what I mean? He just keeps getting one more week of detention. Not even close, bud.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Hey, so before we jump into like stand up and how you got into stand up, how did you get your start in podcasting? Do you remember, like, were you part of other people's podcasts? Were you a guest? Did you start your own?
I'm down with OPP. No, what happened was the first podcast I did, I think, was some kids. Yeah. Some kid in Arizona was like, will you do my podcast? And I was like, I guess. And I went over there and it was filthy. And I looked down to my right. There was a trash can. There was like a used condom in the trash can. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm just in someone's house that I don't know. Just some kid came to the show. And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. Because I was too nice to say no. Then I did Your Mom's House podcast in 2011. Probably like May of 2011. And that was the first time I really saw what it was like to like really get in there and do it was funny. I knew Tom and Christina, so we really knew how to riff and make jokes. The other one, I was just sitting there like, when am I going to get out of here? This is terrible.
Yeah.
And then,
and at that time was there Tom Segura and his, were they pretty popular or were they on their way up? Or
I don't know how many downloads they had, but they were very early. They were maybe only a couple months into their podcasting career. And I do think it was a lot smaller. Yeah. It was definitely a lot smaller than it is now. And it was a lot more, it was just in Redband's house, Brian Redband's house, who does the Rogan podcast or used to do the Rogan podcast. I don't know what's going on with that anymore. And then Ian Bagg started a podcast in the fall of 2011. He asked me to come on. This was on the Toad Hop Network.
Oh yeah.
And they asked me if I wanted to do a podcast. And I did. I called my friend Randy and we started doing it. And then I hit up Ryan Sickler. I asked him if he wanted to do it with us. And that was a Crab Feast. And I did that for like, I don't know, 5-6 months. Then I went to what?
Wait, I'm sorry. I've heard of the Crab Feast. I thought I don't want to, I'm not trying to gossip or nothing because I don't want to. This is news to me. I always thought the Crab Feast was Ryan and Jay Larson, but it was you first and then Ryan.
Yeah,
and then,
it was me, Ryan, and my friend Radio Rando, who's also on the Full Charge Power Hour quite a bit. And then I went to New York, so I just left them the keys.
Oh, okay.
And then that's when Jay Larson came on. And then I started something called Last Exit to Brooklyn in in New York, which was just, we would watch movies from the 80s or just movies we knew were going to be bad. And we really wouldn't do anything other than tell the plot of the movie, which is hilarious when it's a bad plot. Yeah. And it's funny because it really was a cool podcast because you sit there and be like, all right, let me see if I can remember the plot. Because you only watch it once. And you go through and the logic of the plot on a bad movie, it just gets funnier and funnier as it goes because you're like, this is absurd. And then when I came back to LA in 2013, I started the Full Charge Power Hour, scooped up the remnants of the old Crab. Well, I tried to get Radio Rando back on. That would have been like an alternate universe of the Crab Feast.
Yeah.
But he he wasn't really available, but he's on like when he can be on. And I threw my buddy Craig Coleman on because he's a really funny guy. You just had him on.
Yep.
And Eric Wendell, who was also on the Crab Feast. You don't know that. Eric Wendell was on the Crab Feast as the movie reviewer. And that's where the 5 ice cream trucks comes from. Like we're bastard children of the I'm the father and the bastard child of the Crab Feast.
People do know you, man. Like when I went on your podcast, I was like, wow, people are like, it was pretty cool. You doing your podcast, doing one back in the day called Nobody Loves Onions or Likes Onions. That was a big one because it was sort of new in the podcasting. It was one. It was called NLO. It was I asked it one time. I was walking through a hotel room in Florida, and this guy recognized my voice, and he goes, "You aren't by any chance Darren Carter?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I recognize your voice from that podcast." And I said, "How did you hear about it?" And he said that back there used to be a thing I think called Podcast Alley or something, and I want to say that he said, and that had only been about 6 years. So he said at that time there weren't that many podcasts, so he went on there and he found this one podcast to listen to, and that was one of the big ones back in the day, you know. So that one was one where I got attention, and you know yours, and then of course like you know a lot of them you get attention, but there's the ones that you're like, wow, these guys have a loyal, you know. Of course I did, you know, Joey Diaz's The Church of What's Happening Now, like, right. And you know there's the big ones, and then now you did one of the biggest ones ever, I want to say. Didn't you do Joe Rogan's? I did Joe Rogan's, yeah. That's amazing. 4 times I did Joe Rogan's. Dude, yeah, no, it's great. 4 times. That's part of history. My mom just told me she was bragging, like she was at the grocery store or something. Something came up. I don't know how it came up. My parents aren't like, my son's a comedian. They're not like that. Like they don't offer up that information very readily. But somehow it came up in the conversation. Some like grocery, you know, the checker at the grocery store was like, you know, what does your son do? It's a small town. I guess they get into serious conversations at the checkout line. Yeah. And she goes, he's a comedian. And he goes, oh, I listen to Joe Rogan. And she goes, oh, yeah, my boy's been on that. Like, yeah, why don't you fuck off? Yeah, yeah, but, no, that's cool. Definitely something you never think of when podcasts started, that doing something like that is like doing, it's turned out that's like doing like a Tonight Show or like Howard Stern or something. Yeah, how that was back. Yeah, because you know, I listen. I was able. I luckily I did the Tonight Show. I did it with Jay Leno, and it was one of those moments where it does help you for like a little bit. It actually does help you, but if anything, for yourself, it helps you to know like, okay, I did this, and then also what you just said when you're in those situations where you're on an airplane or something, or somebody's like, so what do you do, and then you're a comedian, you can be like, this is what I've done. And have you ever been on Joe Rogan? And you could be like, yeah, 4 times. Yes. And it's you know, right. No, it's concrete confirmation. Now, most people would be like, look at life like a game of chess, and we all should in some way. But the truth, people are always like, what'd you get out of that? What'd you get out of that? What'd you get out of that? And the answer is, I got to do the Joe Rogan podcast. Right. That's what I got out of the Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah. Like these things are, you know, you shouldn't go crazy over them, but you should definitely acknowledge, cool, I did something monumental. It's like a diploma or something. I got a question for you. You know, when he went over to Spotify, certain podcast episodes didn't make it over. Maybe they were too controversial. Who knows why they did or did not. Sure. Have you, in fact, looked to see if any of your episodes made it over to Spotify? I saw that online, and I did look just to see. And I was kind of hoping one of them didn't make it, but they all made it. Oh, that's cool. And I was going to say, you know me, I like to be upbeat and positive. Right. I was going to say, if they didn't make it, I was going to be like, well, they're in the archives somewhere, and maybe not now, but maybe one day but hey, they're all on there. So yeah. No, I mean, it all counts for something. It's all documented. If someone like disputes it, God help you if you get to that point in a conversation where they're looking on their phone and be like, oh, I never heard of you. Like, you know, like, fuck that person anyway. Yeah. You know, what's funny is my, when the deal came out, I think it was like $100 million to go on Spotify, I think. And he's that's what the full charge power hour got that for a MySpace deal. Yeah. He's, Yeah, and I think Joe Rogan's just leasing it for 3 years, meaning he could be like, okay, guys, we had a fun run, and I'm back. I guess, from what I've read, I don't know. But it's funny because my brother-in-law, like, he calls me up and he's like, dude, you should try to, you should try to get on Spotify. And I'm like, dude, I'm already on Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
We're
on
already
fucking
on
everything.
Exactly.
We're on your toaster oven and your microwave. Like, we're fucking everywhere. Everybody is too, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
I know. You just basically send in the link.
You just start pressing buttons when you're setting it up. Yes. RSS feed. Yes.
But I will say it was. It is. I still get a thrill, man, when somebody will, because now that I put this on YouTube, it's cool, man. There's a guy, his name is Yellow Mug Inc. out of Chicago. He'll film his monitor in his vehicle, and he's like, he'll be like, checking out the Pocket Party podcast, and I get a kick out of it, man. Like,
it's really weird when you go to like a town like in Ohio or Minneapolis or whatever, Minnesota, and like people just know so much about you. So I started in 2011, and people just know about 9 years of my life. They know stuff, and they remember things I don't remember and stuff like that. It would just be like 3 dudes. It's not like the masses. It would just be like 3 dudes at the bar.
With beard and glasses. And,
always. That's the uniform. That's the podcast uniform.
No, I remember I was talking to Ari Shafir about that at the Comedy Store. I go, is it kind of weird to you? And he goes, nope, not at all. He goes, it makes it easier to there's like a shorthand. Like it's like, it makes it easier. It's like,
I don't have that Ari Shafir shorthand yet, because for me, it's still only like 4 or 5 guys a show.
Oh.
And so I need like at least 50% to start using that shorthand, because they'll start shouting the shorthand at you. And then the other 95% of the audience is like, we don't know what the fuck you're talking about. We don't know what 5 ice cream trucks is, as your audience doesn't probably.
Yeah. Hey,
but now you have a reason to listen to the Full Charge Power Hour and the Crab Feast, the original Crab Feast.
And
it's called Classic. It's called Classic Crab Feast on iTunes.
I love the woof that you do. How do you do that?
I started that. That's something that started on the Crab Feast too. Like, it was just, I remember being like really nervous to do a podcast, and just like all this like show energy was coming out, and I was like barking like a dog and whatever. But I was hanging with Randy and Ryan, who I've known both of those guys forever. So we were pretty relaxed, and we all, like, I could do stuff like that and I knew they'd be laughing. It's not like a risk. Like if I went on Rogan and did that, like, it might not translate. You may be, what are you doing, Full Charge?
He's trying to talk and you're doing morning radio. You're sitting like,
he's talking about quantum physics, and I'm like, you got your flashlight out. Yeah.
Look at this flashlight. You see that light? Hey everybody, I'm on the Rogan podcast. I'm a party starter. Yeah, I like that. It's pretty good, right?
That's great.
I got this flash. Somebody gave this to me right before the pandemic hit, and I've given them a shout out, and I should write it down so I can easily say their name again. I appreciate it. I know they live in the Bay Area. They've mentioned wanting to see me at Tommy T's in Pleasanton. Thank you for this light. If you're watching, thank you so much. This is something.
That's an amazing piece of machinery. Yeah. I can't believe, with all the things going on in the world, somebody sat down and invented that.
I know. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it. But the guy sent me a long letter. He's like, I make my wife laugh all the time. I go, hey, honey, I'll be in the bedroom. And he'll turn that light on. And it's Can
you imagine being in that relationship?
I know. Yes, exactly. Like, oh, yeah. Hey. Yeah. Here's another weird thing. See, that's a back scratcher. I don't know.
I like that.
I don't know what it is. I did a lot of cleaning during when the pandemic first started, and I was like, I found this cool back scratcher, and then I found another one, and then I think I had on Brian Holtzman. I go, hey, let's do a whole thing about back scratchers, because he had like 3 or 4, and it's like it's still here. Yeah.
Right. That's so funny. You're like this close to being a prop act, like this close. It's probably never going to happen, but they're there if you need them.
Yeah, especially for the visual podcast. Like,
come on, guys, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Some bullshit like that.
That's right, folks. I'm selling these after the show. I'll be by the.
Dude,
by the way,
you can't have red hair and do props.
That's why I
shaved it. You're gonna get called out. Yeah, well, people still know, dude.
They know, bro. They know. I know,
people know
dude.
You have red hair. Yeah,
I know. You know what I was just gonna say is I went to Pep Boys earlier today. That a place to pick up auto parts, and I saw they had these back scratchers, not these, but ones that were similar. And this guy had on like the mask, and he was just testing out back scratchers. And I'm like, is that safe? I don't know. Like,
no, nothing's safe right now. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I
went in to get some keys made today, and the guy's just sitting there with it's his store, and he's got his mask around his chin. And I'm just like, I'll be waiting outside if you don't mind. Like, fuck off, man, with this chin mask.
Have you
either wear it or don't?
Have you wiped down your keys yet, or no? Or is that something you even think of?
My keys, no, I'm not as worried about. It being on surfaces and stuff. We talked about this on Roadhead's podcast. In the beginning, there was an OCD period where they're like, it's on your shit, it's on your shirt, it's on your pants. Right. It's on your fucking glasses. Don't touch your face. Yeah. It was a nightmare. But no, I'm not worried about that anymore. I just don't like being around people right now. And I won't until
I get it.
I'm not one of these people that wants to go back to real life. Like, I'm not ready yet. Fix this shit and I'll see you there. Now, I also think I probably got it and I didn't know it, but I'm not interested, man. I'm not interested in getting that shit. And I'm not interested in like going anywhere or I don't give a fuck about eating in a restaurant. I don't give a fuck.
I really don't either. It's like my wife never really did, and I was always the one like, come on, let's go to, because I was used to being the comedian in me is like, let's go to the diner afterwards. Go to the diner.
I love doing that stuff, but that doesn't mean I was always well aware that I was an American and that I had like insane amount of, lack of a better word, privilege in this world. Like, I can go to a pick of like 500 restaurants today. And if I want to drive a couple hours, I can go to fucking thousands of restaurants. Yeah. But now I'm like, let's take it. But I always knew I was eating at too many restaurants. Let's take it back. This is our little penance. But people are losing their minds. Like, they got to go to TGI Fridays for like honey glazed wings. Are you fucking crazy?
You know what I found?
It's not worth it. And they deliver, by the way. I don't understand I do get it. You go stir crazy in the house. I go stir crazy in the house. But like, do what Darren's doing. Go to the country and see the real beauty of this world.
Dude, let me tell you, but by the way, where are you in New York City right now?
I'm in New York City, and it's not great in my opinion. It's like, I had heard that New York City was very evolved and that's how they got their numbers down and everybody wore a mask. Dude, like 30% of the people on the street don't wear fucking masks. And it drives me insane. And then there's always a couple people inside wherever you go that don't wear a mask. And I know the odds. I know you're probably not going to get it, especially if you're wearing a good mask. But dude, let's just do this for now. This isn't going to last forever. I don't get it. And I hate overall that I have to deal with other people's decisions in this life. That's what I'm trying to come to terms with, is that I'm in this group of people, everyone, I'm talking about everyone in the fucking world right now or in the country, and I have to deal with their decisions, and they're dumb.
And what about?
And I'm not going to finish the sentence. But they're dumb, and I want them to be smart.
Let me ask you
this. And I have to deal with their stupidity, and it infuriates me.
So when I'm at the farm, of course, when you see the news or whatever, or like when I go on the local news on Twitter, like for LA, I'm like, oh man, like this is happening, that's happening. Like are you seeing a rise in crime and stuff? Because I saw that Rick Moranis got punched in the face, and I was like, I already kind of heard.
You know how the internet works. As soon as I say no, I haven't really seen it, I'm gonna get fucking my head cut off with a machete.
Don't say that.
Whatever.
Remember, it's a party, guys.
Hey, I did a disclaimer. I'm fine. And now I fuck myself again. It's definitely going to happen. Anyways, no, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
To answer your question very simply, no, I haven't seen it.
You know how you said you don't really want to be around people now? I gotta tell you, man, there's something about when I'm out there in the country, there's something about that, man. Like, just to hop on my bike and be like, I'm just going to ride my bike and not see anybody. Occasionally there'll be another farmer or somebody working, in a car or something. But whatever. For the most part though, dude, I'm not like, but then again, when I come to LA, I'm around people. That doesn't really bug me, but
couple things. That's not really about people so much. Seeing people is great.
Yeah.
All right. Just because I'm somewhat of an introvert, I have to admit when I go out and hang out with people under normal circumstances before all this madness, I was like, wow, I'm really glad I went out to dinner with so-and-so. I'm glad I met that person for a drink. I'm glad I went to the comedy club, even though I didn't have a spot and I saw that person. Yeah. Human relationships and human contact are essential. But what's not valued in our society, because there's no money in it, is, I mean, that's a theory anyways, but truth be told, when you go see nature, that also satisfies something in your human experience that's never advertised. It's never the goal. It's never something you're aspiring to, but it's so satisfying and it frees you from the madness, especially nowadays, of your fucking phone.
Yeah, man.
Your phone and all this stuff. We're all just caught up in surviving.
It's kind of,
and just to go out and appreciate the true beauty. I don't know if it's God. I don't know if it's some kind of energy, but all of a sudden you're part of nature, just like that raccoon and that squirrel and that owl, that rooster.
Rooster, what's up, rooster? You're part of God's plan, rooster.
And it takes most people to get on acid to figure that out. But honestly, if you open your eyes like you're doing right now, because there was no financial reason.
Somebody else just told me that.
In front of you to go see, but now this is. And I don't ever want this to happen again. But if you're going to find the upside of all this, it's that we all do need to slow down a little bit. Now, I'm not talking to people who are having a hard time making ends meet, like people like me, even who live in a 2-bedroom apartment. This isn't like, you know, there are some serious negatives, but the upsides are, and it shouldn't be going on this long either, but the upsides are we all need to slow down a little bit, especially guys like me and you who work freelance where the hustle is nonstop and unbearable sometimes.
Oh my God. And you know what? Thank God we have this, because I remember, you know, there'd be times I would talk to you and you're like, I gotta get some work done. But I realize once you have a podcast, and then especially now, I actually love it, because maybe we're not touring like we want, and we're not, you know, like they are in some of these other states. You see what's going on. Like certain comedians will be like, I'm here in blah, 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 and it's sold out, but whatever. Even though it's like half capacity, but still, hey, I mean, just pumping the podcast out, setting up good interviews, having stuff for your YouTube channel, like, you know, like it's great, man. It's put your mind in a healthy place of being productive. Cause I don't know what we would have done if this was the 90s and you're just like, you guys can't work, neener, now what? It's like, gosh.
I hate to tell you, it would be awesome.
Oh, really?
You sit there and write and like hang out. Like we all need our rest. Like this is one of those fun, like, I think this is good. I hear everything you're saying and I agree with everything you're saying, but the next thing you know, your days are just filled with work and stress for no reason. Like I'll stress over my own deadlines. I've got to have that podcast out by Sunday. I've got to have the next podcast out by Tuesday. And now I'm stressing out. I got all my errands. And now you're stressing out and you don't even have a paycheck. It's silly. It's dumb. But no, we do need to keep busy. On the other hand, we do need to keep busy.
You know,
and that's very important.
I got to be honest.
You know what? But just to finish that idea, in the 90s, you would just work on that sitcom pilot is what you would do.
Yeah, and not know if it's ever going to go anywhere. But at least this is something you do get the instant feedback. I mean, you put it up, and within within minutes, you're already getting the.
I do. I'm not shitting on podcasts, but it's also instant effort. So it's imperfect effort, and then the feedback is less than perfect too. I mean, these people are animals. They're like the Cookie Monster, dude. They're just like, you suck, you're great. You suck, you're great. You suck. You know what I mean? Like everyone's just consuming, and it's good to get your stuff out there and everything. But but there is that aspect. I can see the pluses and the minuses of all this stuff, and I'm in it for the pluses. And I try not to let the minuses get in my way, because the internet is a cruel place. I saw my nieces getting on the internet this weekend, and I'm like, I wish they weren't, because they're only 6 and 8 years old. And the internet is just cruel and disgusting.
What were they going on? Do you remember?
And they're both female. They're both, young women or whatever you want to call them these days, girls. And, I think it's harder for girls on the internet. I think because looks are, you know, our society makes looks so important.
When you
for
say
women.
when they're going on there, what are they, you mean like they started their own accounts or they started?
Yeah. So it's happened.
Like
So my
TikTok.
So my 8-year-old niece is on some kind of social media for kids that I've never heard of, but still, she's got a profile. She's interacting with people. I'm like, fuck. I don't want them to experience any of this because I didn't experience. Social media came out. Friendster came out when I was 29 years old. And I was like, this is awesome. But I really, truly think it's disgusting. And I'm having addiction problems with Twitter right now. Like I can't stop checking Twitter right now. And it never makes me feel good. It always makes me feel bad. And I keep pressing it because one time in 2016, it made me feel good. Like it's an addiction and it's disgusting and I hate it. And you're just listening to every single person. Some of them aren't even real. They're just fake accounts and they're just coming to make you upset.
Somebody told me that the thing that Twitter's designed on purpose, it's almost like a slot machine, right? Like the way you refresh is you pull it down and then boom, boom, boom. You've got likes, you've got retweets,
It's way more specific than a slot machine. Yeah, it's designed to make you happy when you get likes and comments and all that stuff. The noises are supposed to be pleasant. But it's also like they're feeding you tweets. Twitter knows how to feed you tweets that you'll like. And then a tweet that'll make you upset because it knows that the tweets that'll make you upset will make you go and check out a bunch of shit and be like, oh, what am I upset about? Fuck this person. And then you go back to Twitter. You're like, fuck this. I'm out of this rabbit hole. Let me find something that's going to make me feel good again.
Yeah.
And you're lost in this slot machine. There's a documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, and everyone should check it out because innocently enough, these social media platforms design these things to keep you interested because it's you don't think about this, but it's all about the advertisers. And so they're just what they're trying to do is keep you on the phone because it's like better than a TV spot for advertisers. It's like, look, this guy's on the phone for fucking 5 hours a day. He's on Twitter 5 hours a day. Like give us a little bit more money to advertise to the full charge. That's what the documentary says. That's how they say that's how it works.
You know, my buddy was addicted to those kind of things, like fighting. You know, people. He's like, man, I got into a real, a Twitter war, and basically, you know what? He actually kind of weaned himself off all this stuff, except for YouTube, and he started his own stuff on YouTube, and then just uploading to YouTube, like doing a daily vlog. And he's finding more satisfaction because the people that go there usually, for the most part, like him. So occasionally he gets someone that doesn't like him, but I
can see that. I can totally see that because YouTube is less confrontational and it's less, everyone's arguing their agenda on Twitter and on Facebook. Instagram, and then Instagram's trying to be like, I'm living the life. Everyone's showing you how they're living the life. And you're like, I'm not living the life. You're all bummed out.
And my buddy goes, I told him, I said, Instagram can be, because I usually, I like to get creative on this stuff and just use my creativity. That's what gets me a little thrill. And, and I go, he goes, I don't go on Instagram, man. I just get horny. And I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, all those girls on there. I'm like, why are you following it? And I looked, he was following like 3,000 like Instagram models. And I'm like, just stop, man. You don't need that.
Yeah, because the level of things you can see on Instagram. Remember trying to like dig through a Sears catalog to try to get something that'll make you hot and get your blood pumping. Yeah. Yo, this stuff like, it's unbelievable just what they have on Instagram. And Instagram's got rules about nudity, but it's still off the charts. That like 14-year-old Darren would be like, what is this?
Whoa, hey.
And I can write to them.
I mean, I know.
God help
right?
you. God help you if you're doing that. But But it's an option.
Yeah, because you're right. Back in the day, you'd just see like a music video on MTV or a magazine or something, and that was just
she's my cherry pie. You couldn't pause it or nothing.
Now you'd be like, cherry pie. I really like your video, Bobby Brown.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you're 83 years old, and all you did was look at Instagram models.
I know.
I mean, it's that addictive. It's insane, man.
You know, I
Crazy.
think and also I think because I got MySpace kind of taught me a lesson. Like back then it was like, I kind of built up on MySpace. Like it was pretty effective. I'd be like, I'll be at the Ontario Improv and on those bulletins. And then I'd be the first 10 people to respond. And then it was great. And then I remember the Improv was like, wow, you're like, it really works. You're bringing in numbers. And then MySpace just went away. And I was like, oh, wow, it could all just go away. You know, in my
opinion, we peaked at MySpace.
Yeah.
MySpace was flirty. It was fun. The bulletins were very secondary. The bulletins, what you had to say was very secondary. The weird part is you would just like click and look at people's photos all day. Like if you had a crush on somebody, you just look at them. They wouldn't really, they wouldn't have new photos or material or anything like that. You'd just be like, wow, this person.
Remember at that time I was like, do I put my videos on YouTube or MySpace? And so some of my videos early on, they only went to MySpace. And then I think I made a switch and I was like, nah, I think I should put them on YouTube. And I'd put up a video one every year, maybe 2 a year. I didn't really, back then, like I didn't really know what I was doing. So
have you been to MySpace since the fall?
I haven't.
Because it's still up, but there's almost like nothing there. It's like an Atari version of what once was. It's like Greek ruins. It's like there's still some stuff there and your profile is still there, but it's only like 3 of the photos you uploaded.
Oh.
And it's just this weird thing. There's just like these little remains of what once was. And for some reason the site is still up. I don't know why.
Did you ever get into
complete.
Vine? Did you do Vine?
I started Vine and I'm like, this is just too much. Cause I was already doing, same with Snapchat. I'm like, I already got the big 3. I'm going nuts here. Like, and then like I never found my angle on Vine. I did like 4 Vines.
You know, I did Vine. I did Vine for a little bit, and then I really wasn't going to do it. And then this is pretty cool. This guy that's really popular named Vincent Marcus. I think he has 3 names, but Vincent Marcus. He just did America's Got Talent, but he was huge on Vine, like 1.5 million followers or whatever they're called. And when I went to Texas, he goes, "Hey, Mr. Carter, big fan. I'd like to do He's very nice. He goes, how about I beatbox and you do Snoop Dogg?" And then we did it. And by the way, guys, if you go to my YouTube channel and you type in Snoop Dogg loop, you'll see it. It's a 10-minute loop of la da 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 da. This guy's he's a master impressionist and beatboxer. So this guy's really, and he's taken off on what's the thing now? Like TikTok, Instagram. He does all that stuff. But that's what looped me back in because I wasn't that into Vine, and then he would refine me a little bit here and there, and I was like, wow, this works, and then it just went away. It was like MySpace and Vine burned me up.
Think about that. I mean, those people invested so much time. They get like 1 million followers, and then it's just done.
I know.
Like it's just so far out of your control. That's more like regular show business, but whatever. Like it's still a weird thing.
I never did Snapchat. I put it on my phone. I was like, I don't want to even start this. So I didn't do that. And I've never done TikTok. I've never even downloaded it, but
I did Snapchat for like a month. And I'm like, I still don't understand this. And I'm out. Like I'm just out of Snapchat, and I probably still have an account, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm not against TikTok. I just don't want to be like one more thing to, because I know that is one way to get yourself out there. I talked to Red Band about that. He seems to think that they'll kind of, put you out there a little bit in the beginning to get you hooked. Like you might do a funny one or a good one and be like, damn, people are looking at this. And then you'll keep chasing that, trying to get.
Yeah. It's fun. That's what I mean. Addiction. The first time is like the best time. And then you're chasing the dragon. Yeah. On a loop, on a 7-second loop.
Screw that, man.
I'm trying to do less social media. Like I think it's really fucking me up. Yeah, I do. I really do. I think it's really bad for my brain.
Yeah.
And it changes the way I perceive myself. And like, it makes me more like, I can't, like if somebody writes me that they think I suck, it's like, I feel like everybody thinks I suck.
Oh no.
Like, I can't take that shit. I really can't. I don't appreciate it. And guess what I just invited everybody to do?
Oh, now they like you. You're good. I'm telling you, the guys, there's a reason he's on here. He's great. I like your podcast. It's like,
no, I know. And I know better. And I don't read the shit half the time because these guys, they're not risking anything. They don't have the real name. They don't have the real photo. They can write me whatever they want. They don't have to deal with that. I had some guy harassing the shit out of me, trashing me, not like surface level shit, going hard on me. And I blocked him. Him. And then he's hitting up my friends like, hey, tell Matt to unblock me. It's been like 5 months. And it's like, no, dude. Like, you're just going to fucking trash me again. You know that thing about the frog and the scorpion?
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yeah. That story where it's my nature. It's my nature. Yeah. Yeah. Swimming across the like,
swim me across the pond. He goes, frog goes, you're going to sting me. Scorpion goes, no, I won't. You will have done me this huge favor. And frog goes, all right. Yeah, you're right. Swims him across the pond, and then the scorpion fucking stings him anyways. He's like, why you do that? He's like, I'm a scorpion. And they're all scorpions, dude. If they sting you once, they're going to sting you again. They got nothing to lose. Yeah. And it makes them feel so good for some reason. So fucking weird, man. Yeah.
They, I remember you telling me that. You said, like, you guys can goof around on the podcast with each other, but then sometimes the listeners want to, and it doesn't come across sometimes in writing. They try to bust your balls, and it's like, and maybe you're not in the mood. Maybe you don't even know what they're talking about, and you're just like, what the hell is this? Block, it's like.
Also, you got to factor in the fact, and this is another one of the problems with having a smartphone and being online all the time, is you might be at the drugstore picking up your prescription, and you're just like, you suck. And now you're in line at the drugstore thinking you suck. Yeah. Used to be, there was not much that could fuck with this like mundane errand. It was going to be boring, but you weren't going to get your feelings hurt. Now, like somebody's coming from fucking, like, I don't know, Kansas, beaming it all the way up to outer space, beaming it down to your phone in Dwayne Reed's, and you're like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. You know what? I joined a boxing gym, and I haven't been lately, but one of the things I do like about the boxing gym is, you're just wearing your shorts and a shirt, and you got the gloves. You get
to punch somebody.
I'd
say that's a huge upside.
Yeah. But you physically cannot touch your phone when you have boxing gloves on. It's impossible. So you're punching the bag, you're sweating. So not only are you getting those endorphins,
Buddy, I like swimming laps.
Yeah.
You think I'm going to bring my phone in the pool? No fucking way. I need to be insulted later at the drugstore. It's going in my locker.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, never mind. You go ahead. You're hosting.
No, I was just going to say, it was great to have you on. We're going to wind it down. Is there any words of wisdom you'd like to tell our listeners or viewers? Something that because you've been in the business for a long time. You've been in the podcast business, the stand-up business, making it as an entertainer. Is there anything you've learned?
Keep in mind a couple things. Keep in mind that I'm not an expert on this. It's like having faith in God or like quitting alcohol or something. You have to do the work every day to like really get to what I'm talking about. But you got to have patience. First of all, you can't be like, I need to be successful today. But on the other hand, you need to consider it your job if you're interested in doing something, and you need to put the work in every day, and you just need to focus your energy on the work. And you need to, as I've just demonstrated all my insecurities about this online shit, you can't worry about what other people think, because it's never going to be 100% of the people like you. And so you just need to do what you need to do, stay focused, and then fucking have a cutoff during the day. Like, all right, I worked towards my goal for 8 hours today. Now I'm going to go out to the farmhouse, take a walk around. I'm going to talk to my loved ones. I'm going to call my parents. I'm going to do some athletic, play a game, sports, play a board game, have some joy in your life, and then face the misery in the morning. You face that fucking misery and you fucking work your ass off, and then you cut it off and just realize none of this is going to mean shit in 100 years. So don't get hung up on being famous. Like, no one really knows the most famous comedian from 1920. I don't really. You could like point to somebody who's famous, but he's not like culturally relevant. You could trace some jokes back to that guy.
You could be like George Jessel or whoever.
Just know that no one's really talking about Laurel and Hardy right now. Maybe like once a year on fucking TV when it's like a top 50 comedians of all time or some shit. But no matter how well you do, and you should strive for excellence, you should strive for perfection, but you got to let yourself off the hook, because none of this is all meaningless. But on the other hand, we need something to do with our days. Otherwise, we're going to go crazy just thinking about all the possibilities in life. You got to focus. You got to keep your brain positive, busy in a positive way. Does any of this make sense? It's all over the place.
It does. No. You know what? You did a great thing. I remember, you may not remember saying this, but there was a time when you put the work in, and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to go to Griffith Park, and I'm just going to, I think you said Griffith Park. I'm just going to walk around for like 5 or 6 hours.
Left my phone at home.
Yeah. Oh, you know where this is going. Tell
No.
the people
I just remember I left my phone at home.
You left your phone at home. You go, and then you're like, you just had a great day. You went back and you checked your messages, and you got a great message, a positive, awesome message with your career. Do you remember what that was?
No, I don't. Let me tell. Sorry. So here's what happened. Back in the day, me and my ex-girlfriend, we used to have this thing where we would take one day off, because even back then, this was in 2010, things were already starting to get crazy with the internet and everything. And we would take one day off, and we wouldn't look at our, because we didn't have smartphones back then anyways. We wouldn't look at our computers, and we wouldn't answer our phones. And finally my home phone's ringing. I still had a home phone. And I think it was my buddy Daniel Tosh, and he was like on the phone. He's like, dude, have you gotten any of our messages? And I'm like, no. He's like, you got a half-hour special. We need to organize this, because I was about to go on tour with him. And I'm like, what? Because like Daniel's calling me, not my manager. Yeah. It was the weirdest thing. And then I went back and I found out I had all these messages and blah, blah, blah. I also remember telling you a story where I was like, you're obsessively looking at your phone. You're obsessively looking at your phone. You're looking at your phone, waiting for that good news. And I went up to Griffith Park and went for a hike and everything. And then when I came home, I had no messages, which doesn't sound as positive an experience, but you have to factor in that I would have been looking at that phone every 4 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then just nothing's coming. Whereas if I go, that's when the weird thing, when you go out in nature that we were talking about earlier, like I would just go to Griffith Park, you come back, you're in a whole different mindset. You don't even give a fuck about your phone anymore, especially if you left it at home.
Yeah.
You're like, what? Oh, okay. What's for dinner? Like you're off that mentality. And so either way is great. I'd say the first story is kind of worse, because I should have been checking my phone.
Yeah. We're going to edit it out. No. Do you have any words of wisdom? Yeah, take out those stupid first words and put it in the...
No, but you still see what I'm saying. Like, that's just like good news coming at you. And when it's good news, really good news, people are going to be clawing and scratching to get it to you.
Yep. That's great.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Full Charge. Sit back so we can see the shirt. Look at that. He's got the Full Charge is on the shirt. The Full Charge. I like that.
It's a real personality. It's like a real persona.
Wait, real quick. You're using the normal earbuds. I like that. The earbuds. Yeah. And then what kind of microphone do you use?
I don't even know what kind of mic this is. Louis Katz. I won't say he gave it to me. Maybe we started a podcast together, and now I have it at my place.
People need to do this if they're going to do this stuff online and at home using their get the equipment, because some people sounds like their computers across the room, and it's just
yeah you got to get your equipment if you even want to do this casually with your friends. Yep. It's 2020. It's the pandemic. You can order it in the mail. Everything's available in the mail now. Just if you want to do this, get it. And if you're putting something online, definitely get it. Yeah. And if you're calling into like Bill Maher or something, Jesus Christ, get it.
Yeah. Man, I hope to see you back in LA. I don't know what your plans are. I don't know. I know you got to.
I just gave up my apartment in LA, but I'm going to be back. I would like Los Angeles to ask me back. That's my policy. Yeah. I need a phone call. I'm going to turn my phone off, and LA is going to be calling me.
When you turn that son bitch back on.
Yeah, you turn it on.
We've been trying to get a hold of you. Yeah. All right, my man. Thank you so much.
Right. My pleasure, Darren. Great talking to you. Buddy.
Likewise. Bye.
Peace.
We're done with this interview. Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to The Pocket Party.